Welcome. It is a joy to be with you. If you are enjoying this content, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps light travel. Good morning, welcome, 1,000 welcomes. Welcome, 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 welcome. Such a joy to meditate with you all. And we are meditating today on a fabulous meditation topic. So I'm going to share the title of the meditation topic, and then I'm going to ask for a little bit of participation and interaction. So the title is Do Good. Okay, do good. So my question is, raise your hand if that sounds appealing to you. Excellent. I mean, I think mostly that was pretty much universal. Pretty much 100% of people, when I said, do you want to do good, raised their hand and said, yes, sign me up. Okay, that was a little bit of a trick question, because the next thing I'm going to do is read where that phrase came from in the context of a master teaching from a master teacher. And then I'm going to raise your hand and I'm going to ask again, does that sound like something you would like to do? Okay, so in the context of the teaching from the master teacher, I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. So what do you think? Do you want to do that? Raise your hand if you want to do that. Okay, it's still pretty much almost universal. Pretty much almost. Excellent. Right there with you. And so you will recognize that teaching. We've been meditating on the Sermon on the Mount. So teachings shared by a master teacher. And the perspective that we've been taking is focusing on these teachings as presenting universal laws of energy. So sort of like the energies that govern and guide all of life, that govern and guide the whole universe, that help us live in joy and freedom and peace and delight and love right in the midst of being human. And connect us with that remembrance that Padma was talking about, that I am beloved, I am eternal, I am immortal, I am free, always right in the midst of experiencing what seem to be human enemies, right in the midst of experiencing what seems like hate from a human perspective, right in the midst of being despitefully used and persecuted. So we're not going to raise our hands and say, please sign me up from a human perspective. We just don't, right? And so this is a teaching that tells all of us. We actually started off our meditation with a sort of lived daily example of this as well. It is possible for every human to transform hatred into love. It is possible for every human to transform fear and anxiety into assuredness. It is possible for every human to transform doubt into courage and into trust. And so that is the law of energy that is being articulated in this particular teaching. I also want to share with you a quotation from Howard Thurman. So some of you might know Howard Thurman. He was an incredible educator, amazing teacher, mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He met Gandhi and he met Tagore, and he was like the lived link between Gandhi and Dr. King. And so Howard Thurman's teachings, even if you have not heard his name, changed the face of our country. They changed the face of the planet. And one of the things that he says, thou art made for wholeness, to make heaven where hell is found. So for each of us, from our own wholeness, wherever we seem to perceive hell, we are invited from our own wholeness to make heaven right there. And this is the same teaching that is being offered in the Sermon on the Mount. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. And so, again, I'm just going to remind us, and in case anyone joined the meditation after I shared this, I started off with a teaching from just lived contemporary daily reality. So a mom driving on the way to work, and she had her little boy in the car. She was dropping him off at school, and she said to him, "I'm really anxious about this meeting that I have at work." And he said to her, "Mama, I'm anxious all the time. I know what to do. Say with your mouth and your heart, 'I am brave of this meeting. I am loved. I smell good.'" Say it 5 or 3 or 10 times until you know it. And so I'm just going to invite you to, I was going to say taste the difference. You can actually taste the difference, but feel the difference between saying it with your mouth and saying it with your heart. And so first of all, just with your mouth, with your lips. This is the same teaching from Jesus when he says you have to pray with your heart, not with your lips. Don't use vain repetitions. It has to come from your heart. But just from your lips, say, "I am brave. I am loved. I smell good." Now with your heart, and actually say it with your heart, and actually allow your heart to open to feel this. With your heart, say, "I am brave." You can feel it! The whole room, the whole expansive space around you, the expanded awareness around you fills with the energy of courage. Okay, so let's keep going. Open heart and say with your heart, "I am loved." You can feel it. You can feel the way that it shifts the energy in the whole room. So it shifts the energy in the physical body for you, but also if you are in a meeting or you are in one of those gnarly family situations that sometimes arise because we're human, or you are wherever you are, where you're feeling anxiety or stress, if you connect in your heart with "I am brave, I am loved," it shifts the energy. And so what immediately begins to happen is the energy of enmity, the energy of believing that there is a barrier to connectedness and unity and relatedness and community. It melts away. It melts away. And so it is as if the light within you is directly reaching out to the light within whoever it is that you are encountering. This can happen silently. This does not have to be that you walk up to your really cranky coworker and wrap your arms around that person and say, "It's okay. I am brave. I am loved," because your really cranky coworker might scream and run the opposite direction. But if you're doing it in your heart, that can reach on the level of awareness and on the level of that human, whenever that human is able to receive and be aware, that connectedness is reestablished. That current of light, that current of caring, that current of trust, that current of respect, that current of relatedness is brought into play. And I want to make clear, this is so vastly far beyond the bounds of the individual. This is life itself, the song of life itself, the new heart that is being formed in humankind begins to speak through you in the ordinary everyday words that you use, even if you're just using the same ordinary everyday words that you would use in your meeting. So the words themselves might not change, but that energy of this new humankind, this new heart, is being shared through you, through your very presence. And so one of the ways to do this is in the midst of daily reality. And the little boy was reminding his mom, reminding all of us, you do this 5 times, you do this 3 times, you do this 10 times. You do this until you know it. You do this until you feel it. So whenever we become aware of anxiety or fear or doubt or despair or just a feeling of stuckness, that is an indicator. It's just like this little indicator. So no judgment, just, the indicator is letting me know. It's time to come back, not only with my mouth, but also in my heart. I am brave. I am loved. And whatever words you want to add, I am peace. I am creativity. I am the new heart song that is being sung through humankind. I am a precious part of that heart song. That heart song is incomplete without me. And then we have the awareness that same heart song is also incomplete without the other whom you are addressing, even if there seems to be misunderstanding or distance or separateness or confusion. And that's the ground of reality. So that's the ground of being. That's the ground of truth. That's the ground of wholeness. That's the ground Jesus stood on when he said, I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. Pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. That's the ground on which Howard Thurman stood when he said, thou art made for wholeness, to make heaven where hell is found. And so one of the first things that we will notice is this is something that we each do internally first. We do this internally, and then we're connected with wholeness. So wholeness itself is actually singing this heart song through us. The new heart of humankind is actually sharing through us. It's not our separate individual, limited human self that has to figure out how to do this. This is happening through us. And so a couple of stories, a couple of reminders, a couple of invitations. One is, this is something that St. Francis lived. And so this will make sense to you instantly. As soon as I say that, you'll say, well, of course. Like, he lived in joy. He lived in trust. He lived in faith. He lived so fully in alignment with the divine will that there is a true story about a time when St. Francis was experiencing illness. So he's physically sick. He's physically suffering. And one of his brothers says to him, St. Francis, I have been praying for you to feel better. And St. Francis says, I know you mean well, and so I'm not going to be angry with you. But if I didn't know that you meant well, I would be angry with you because I want only what God gives me. I don't even want to ask to change what God has given me. And so that's an example of St. Francis was so completely one with what was. He didn't even have a separate preference. He didn't even have a separate intention. He just wanted, that is what God has given me. That is. And when you live in that awareness, you live in the energy of the kingdom of heaven. You live in that energy of wholeness. So when St. Francis passed away, he asked that his body be buried in an area of Assisi where criminals had been executed. And that area was called the Hill of Hell. And that's where he was buried. He was buried on the Hill of Hell. Guess what that hill is now called? It's now called the Hill of Paradise. So it's called the Hill of Paradise because he lived in that consciousness. And so now there's this amazing, gigantic cathedral, and it's one of the revered places of pilgrimage, not just by Catholics, but by everyone, because St. Francis is one of those sort of universal, beloved, adored people, saints, beings of light. And so his presence there transformed hell into paradise and is a reminder, as the Howard Thurman teaching is a reminder, this is what each of us is invited to do, and we can do this within ourselves. Then it can be shared. It can be shared through us. So a couple of other stories, and these are from the stories that Jesus shares that are teachings that help us connect with what is the divine like, what is the energy of the kingdom of heaven like. And so there are 3 stories told in the scriptures right in a row. One is the story of the lost sheep. One is the story of the lost coin. And the other is the story of the lost son. And every single one of these stories, you probably have heard them before, reminds us of the importance of being reconnected. So the lost sheep goes out and gets separated from community. And the divine goes out and finds the lost sheep and brings it back and restores it to connectedness, restores it to relatedness, restores it to community. And this is what the divine is asking for each of us, to be restored to relatedness and connectedness, to that trust, to that community. The same thing, the woman loses a coin, and she searches and searches and searches until she finds that coin, and then she brings the coin back to the other coins, restores it to its connectedness, restores it to its relatedness. The same thing with the lost son. So when the son remembers and comes back home, the father celebrates and has a party. And there's like this grand homecoming, this incredible welcome home. And the father also says to the son who has been there all along, I am with you always. All that I have is yours. And so for each of us, and I will actually close my eyes and I invite you to do the same. The divine is seeking each of us and inviting us to come back into community, inviting us to come back into connectedness, inviting us to come back into relatedness. Anywhere we have been isolating ourselves or insulating ourselves or allowing ourselves to feel cut off from the caring and the trust of community and affection and relationship and connection. And so for each of us, we are invited to open our heart and with courage and with spiritual honesty, allow ourselves to see, where have I been isolating myself from connectedness with community? Where have I been insulating myself from remembering my relatedness with all of life, with all of existence? Where have I been holding myself separate or apart? Where we feel pain is a signal, an indicator of where we have been holding ourselves apart from the divine and apart from the way the divine expresses through our human kin. Our human community. Where we have been feeling fear or judgment is a signal of where we have been holding ourselves apart, where we have been afraid to open our heart and allow ourselves to trust the presence of the divine. Where we have been experiencing judgment, so anywhere that we have dismissed or judged an entire group, anywhere that we have seen anyone as other than a beloved child of immortality, a beloved child of the divine, that's a signal of an area within ourselves. We are holding ourselves apart from the divine. So allow ourselves to have clarity and to have stability and strength, joy and confidence, enthusiasm and radiant vitality, steadiness and kindness, sweetness and truth, calm and insight, allowing ourselves to be infused by divine love and inspiration. So that we might allow ourselves to reconnect with the parts of ourselves that have felt bruised or broken, the parts of ourselves that have experienced scorn or contempt. The parts of ourselves that we or others have despised. In consciousness, I invite you to turn to those parts within each of us. Bring light, bring pure love. Make peace with every aspect of yourself. Bring kindness to your whole journey, everything you have ever experienced. Bring kindness. Allow yourself to feel the way we liberate ourselves when we connect with our own wholeness in this way. Allow yourself to notice we connect with the energy of pure joy. We connect with open-hearted, pure laughter. We connect with the energy that is the kingdom of heaven. Allow that energy that is wholeness, that is laughter, that is the energy of the kingdom of heaven, to strengthen the body, whatever the body may be going through. Allow that energy to strengthen the heart, whatever the heart may be feeling. Allow that energy to strengthen the awareness. Calming anywhere within ourselves where we have held on to fear thoughts, and connecting ourselves with expanded, clear awareness. In the sacredness of this wholeness, allow yourself to feel the delight of your own life, your own pure life energy, as pure beingness, not connected with any doingness, not connected with anything anyone thinks or asks of you, not connected with any human categories. The pure delight of life, singing and shining in your heart. This energy is the energy of eternal joy, the energy of eternal reality, the energy of sweet truth, the energy of immortality, the energy that overleaps all human limits, the energy that transforms pain and fear, illusion and lack, limitation and suffering. The energy that sees only the divine is here, in, through, and beyond all human existence. Only the divine is here. When we are in contact with that energy, in our own lives, whatever has been the hill of hell becomes transformed into the hill of paradise. I invite you to place your hands in prayer at the heart, connecting with your own joy and confidence, your own good humor, your own vitality, your own willingness to live the truth in daily life. Thank God, and God bless us all.